Good evening and welcome on a Monday night, late night in August, as the fall winds start to churn. My name is JW Colwell. Thank you for joining us on Generation Movie tonight. Very excited about tonight. Although we're gonna start off a little bit somber, but
Mhm.
my good friend Rich Drees is joining me as always. And let's talk
Good evening,
first
everybody.
about if you like what you see. We're the Indie Escape Network. We are a group of creatives that have a mandate to be a place where other creatives can unite and meet and talk. We are available live streaming on Facebook and on YouTube. We have some shows. We have Generation Movies Monday night. You're watching it now, hopefully. Hopefully, you care about movie history and about looking at great movies celebrating amazing anniversaries. Loud and Nerdy is our pop culture show, kind of a smorgasbord with a bunch of friends kind of bouncing through the pop culture world. That's me, Jerry Kimura of the band Slapjaw, and Raven, who's delightfully difficult, and she's amazing. Symbolistic Cynicism is on Monday nights with Gabe Symbolista. A fantastic show. He usually gets all of our good interviews. He just had Alex Asoy on, a very good young actress who's been in all things Pope's Exorcist, Haunting of Bly Manor. She may or may not be in Carrie, which was kind of dropped on the show. So check that out. We also have Technical Defects, which is Riot Ryan West, Joe Ridgely. Thursday nights, bi-weekly, every other Thursday. They get together, they talk amongst themselves and come up with some cool things that we're dealing with in toys, tech, movies, all kinds of things. And then on Fridays, when the mood takes us, and that's every week, the mood takes us, Rich. New release Friday with me, JW the Movie Guy. And then, Rich, on occasion, when you have free time,
Yeah, I pop in every now and then. You just kind of drop there for a moment with your audio. But yeah, yes, yes, when I do have a moment.
and tonight we have the distinct pleasure. We are doing David Cronenberg's The Fly. It's celebrating its 40th anniversary, and I can't wait till we get to this. It is I I'm gonna stack it up. It's one of the best remakes ever made. It's in the art. It's in the discussion because it takes the source
And,
material and
and
makes it better.
yeah, yeah. Before we get started, though, I'd like to call out Diet Coke. Um, I just pulled a can of Diet Coke out of the fridge, and it is insulting me. It's
Oh.
calling me a hoe, and I'm not happy about that.
No, turn it upside down. Turn it over. No, it's Ohio.
Oh, Ohio.
It's
Oh,
Ohio. It's their state cans.
well, now I'm embarrassed. No.
Isn't ho? Wait, isn't ho like that's land ho? Isn't ho HOE? Just that.
No,
Okay.
as in
Anyway,
like cocaine's and hoe. No, that's that's an HO.
I think
Cocaine's
it's
and
HOE,
hoe
isn't
would be
it?
HO.
I think a ho
No,
is
only
HOE.
you only add the O if you're pluralizing it, and that's just standard grammatical English. And we
And we've
know
already
about the
and we've
standardized
already gone
grammatical
off the deep end. Let's let's get to the news. And I may be freezing, but let's get to the news. Um,
English.
oh,
Spider-Man did good this weekend.
yes, it did.
Um, it cleared worldwide $2 billion and passed the $700 million mark for uh, theatrical here in the United States, the domestic audience. Well, the U.S. and Canada. I think Mexico is lumped in there too. I can't remember. But yeah, it's doing it incredibly fast. It's the movie's been out 2 weeks and a couple of days, and it's just really exciting to see how fast this is. Of course, it's leading to some interesting debates. Is this because people like Spider-Man? Is this the MCU coming back because people are suddenly excited about the MCU with the Avengers stuff coming up? Is it a little bit of each? I'll
I think I'm
be
back.
honest.
Hold on.
I'm kind of surprised that the movie's doing this well because I thought, I mean, it's pretty much almost at a point where it's surpassed No Way Home, And I thought No Way Home was partially fueled by nostalgia because we got Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire back to play their versions of Peter Parker. And
it's blowing the doors off.
I guess that's wrong because people are still showing up and we don't have any Andrew or Tobey in this one. So,
well, and I think I think when we did the original review, the thing that jumps out about this Spider-Man is that it's now Tom Holland's role, right? And this one is the first one where he doesn't have like, it isn't the glitz of like the first time he's going to be on screen in Marvel. It's not the second one that was a good sequel. It's not the third one that has the extra Spider-Man and all the villains. This is his, and people are running with it. They're absolutely running with it. Mm-hmm. I did forget Kelly Jones coming up on Technical Defects. I'm so sorry. Kelly Jones coming up on Technical Defects Thursday, August 20th, 10 p.m. He's a very big guest. He did color and work on Batman Nightfall, and he's also worked on the R-rated movie that's coming out from DC Animation. So we want to get that in there.
On, I believe Sandman, the classic Neil Gaiman series, even though we're not.
Yeah, he's a very talented artist, and he's a very cool.
Very
I'm sorry I forgot that. I feel bad.
Feel and heavy feel to his stuff. I have something I have to be doing on Thursday. I'm gonna miss it, but I look forward to catching it once it uploads to YouTube and everything. Yeah,
and we also have we're also available on all the places you like to listen: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podbean, all those places. Looking at the numbers though, Rich, 786. It's only the third movie I think to hit over $700 million domestically. 1.2 billion worldwide, and it's just I don't see, like, the numbers this past weekend don't give me any idea that it's gonna stop anytime soon. 70 million, it's only down 51% from last weekend, so if it drops another 51%, that means it'll be over 800 million. The Odyssey was 23 million, minus 26%. That is at 505 domestic, 792 international for 1.2 worldwide. But that's a 3-hour R-rated movie based on a classic poem.
So yeah, I mean, if you're only making 1.2 million, I guess, he went woke. They went broke with this, obviously.
I can't wait to see how much money Grok makes. Anyway, shut the fuck up. Third place was the new movie, and this is an interesting thing. The End of Oak Street opened this weekend. I like it. I think it's an okay movie. It kind of chickens out at the end, but it's a fun movie, and it grossed $21 million. And on a budget that's not that much. The budget is only $85 million, right? And I was seeing stories, End of Oak Street bombs, and I'm like, no, the End of Oak Street didn't bomb. The End of Oak Street is in the wake of two massive blockbusters. It's just in the wake. Yeah. Everything is in the wake.
Really good legs to them.
Yeah, and it's in the wake. And I think people will get to the End of Oak Street. I think it'll bump along and probably end up leaving theaters in mid-September, right? Give or take. Like, it'll last. It'll keep on kind of chugging along and do well. Fourth place was the Dino movie, right? And again, 21 million, 26 honestly, international for End of Oak Street. 47 million is not bad for the End of Oak Street.
I don't see it, necessarily peaking past this, but I see maybe it will drop a little bit and then come back up a bit.
Yeah, there's not a lot. There's not a lot coming out.
Okay, we've already done the Odyssey 3 times. We've done Spidey 3 times. Oh shit! Dinosaurs eat 1980 suburbanites. Let's go see that for.
I'm in. Paw Patrol did well, 20 million. Again, not the budget on those movies are not very high. So the budget is only the budget I heard was like 75 million. That movie's already grossed 68 million worldwide, and you can call it a bomb, but these movies make money, and then they immediately go to streaming, and they immediately make money on streaming. My nephew saw it; they liked it. You know what I mean? Like it's a different lead character this time. So I do think it's one of those.
Yeah,
You know, it's in the wake, end of summer. We in Florida have already gone back to school. So
pardon the pun, but these movies have a long tail to them.
They really do.
They're ultimately designed that, you know, once there comes along a generation finally that doesn't care about Paw Patrol because something else has replaced it. But for a good while, these things just kind of mint money, you know, going.
Yeah, forward. Well, and like I said, again, and they've made them so cheaply with Paramount, which may be a good or bad thing depending on how you want to look at it. You know, so but I did see people saying, "Oh, Paw Patrol kind of bombed. Oh, End of Oak Street bombed." It's not bombing, people. If a movie of the End of Oak Street and Paw Patrol open in the wake of Spider-Man Brand New Day, anything opening in the wake of this movie, this particular movie at this particular time, it's going to be tough to make money. It just is. And like I said, I think
honestly, if anything that came out this weekend bombed was the 25th anniversary re-release of Wet Hot American Summer. Which was in for just a couple of days, but it was over the weekend, and it didn't crack 1 million, and it was on 700 screens or something like that. So I was kind of disappointed.
That didn't do 174,000 on 681 screens. What else? Something else. Like I said, it's not a bomb. It's just,
come on, people, go see comedies with friends in theaters, man. That's the best way to see them. Don't see them at home.
There were a lot of reissues this week. Train to Busan was also out. 10th anniversary Train to Busan that only made $310,000.
You're getting my $12 on Wednesday, so
I hear you. But like I said, that's not something we shouldn't necessarily look at. End of Oak Street. I think End of Oak Street did fine for. Like I said, budget wasn't high. If it was a $175 million movie, yeah, then. But it's only like an $85 to $95 million movie. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's the truth of the economics. Not a bomb, people. Read the room. That it's sitting in the wake of. Hold on, we got some things. Good evening, hi Joe Ridgely, and just on a personal, we're thinking of you, Joe, and your family. Just I know Santa.
Yeah. My friend.
Wasn't really impressed with Spider-Man this time around. Really? Okay. How about this? Hot take. Officially Dan G. Brand New Day wasn't that good. Just filled with cameos to satisfy people. Him evolving didn't last long enough. Okay. I think you're in the rare minority. I think it's you could do a hot take like that if you want to. I don't know how much traction you're going to get because I think most people. I don't know that it's evolving mattered.
I think this is a story that they're planning on doing out over the next 1 or 2 films. It's not like
and I actually think
he's gonna have totally forgotten about this or anything.
I actually think there are other things too. I think like the cameos. I think the cameos also in Brand New Day are also kind of setting things up. What happened to the Hulk is going to be a major piece of something. The idea that the Hulk has been good for so long, and then all of a sudden he has one mess up, and he's immediately taken to prison and thrown on a hospital gurney in the middle of nowhere. We don't know where he is. I just think I might feed it.
Have one mess up because when he messes up,
I understand, but I think they have big things set up for Hulk. I think, obviously Sadie Sink. We could talk about that for a little bit. D23 went off about as well as a movie company can handle.
I know on the Friday review show we talked about predictions, and I totally forgot to write down what both you and I said to see, how right we were or weren't.
I said a new Avengers trailer. I know I was right. I said a new Avengers trailer, and to be honest, the new Avengers Doomsday trailer was spectacular. It's a brutal kind of rewriting of Marvel history. And you all got to live, and now I'm going to make you pay for it, kind of thing. And I don't know if it's directed at one person.
We were definitely going to get, some X-Men casting announcements.
Yeah, the X-Men.
They showed some footage there, but didn't release it. But you know, it was out online for about.
It's out there if you want to look. It's good. It's really good. It's interesting because it doesn't feel like it has anything to moor it to the franchise, which is nice. Like it feels like it's a new take. You know, I don't know if it's like, I don't know if Gosling's racing them or something, but you know, the sequence I saw was basic. I don't know what it's going to be, but it feels inherently different from other Star Wars. Of course, they had the announcement about the new, the reissue of the original Star Wars, which is coming in February.
We already knew that, though. We
knew that. A lot of sequel news, animated side. The idea that Disney is now, Disney had kind of kept its moorings with regards to doing sequels to animated movies, and now it's the announcements were what? Coco 2, Incredibles 3, Frozen 3
was happening. I think we knew Frozen 3 was happening, right?
Well, I think everybody knew them, but getting full segments of them where, you know, people walking out on stage, it kind of solidifies them. Incredibles 3 had a really great little fun thing where they tried to introduce the villain and was interrupted by Edna Mode. You know, it was a very big event that went very well for Disney. A lot of ride stuff too. There was a ton of ride stuff.
They didn't make that Muppets announcement I thought they were going to make.
Yeah, the Muppets announcement was disappointing, but I will tell you my favorite announcement that has nothing to do with like actual life, but will have to do with me going to a park and seeing something. There was a major announcement that Harrison Ford is the actual animatronic person that will appear in the new Indiana Jones ride, which means he will be in perpetuity until they decide to rip it down for something else. And it almost guarantees I will be there for opening weekend for that ride. You know what I mean? Like, and the idea that Ford came out and they said they're going to model it after my Indy. It's the first time I've been modeled, because all the Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland was not modeled after him. So it was just kind of like the cool Indy that they kind of had in Ralph McQuarrie's concept art from 81. So I'm ecstatic about that. I'm ecstatic about, you know, Figment is getting an upgrade.
Was it the McQuarrie or was it the Howard Chaykin artwork from 81?
I don't know which one. I thought it was McQuarrie. I thought it was the one. I thought it was the one. I thought it was the one. I thought it was always the one that was on. Remember there was a Raiders of the Lost Ark game, and it looked nothing like Indy on the front of the cover of the box. But Disney, would you say that they had like Vision Quest? That trailer's fantastic. And that ends up becoming
that's a little different than what we saw last October at New York Comic Con. As far as I can recollect, there felt like there was some new stuff in there. I'm excited. Well, two guys from Mischief Theater Company are in it playing Dummy and You. They're fantastic comedic actors. So I'm looking forward to seeing them in the MCU. In fact, I made a joke about it on Threads, and Terry Metalis actually retweeted it or whatever we call it on Threads. I don't know.
Okay, Dan G comes in with this.
So that was kind of fun.
I mean, he put a chip in the NX to stop the volume of the majority of the movie, then boom, he's fine at the end. Would have had him hurt MJ or scare her, or the volume had more stakes. I don't know. I don't think anybody wants to see him hurting MJ. Beating the piss out of Scorpion to the point where he's almost killing cops is, I think, enough. I think that's enough. Nobody wants to see anybody get hurt, especially females on screen. Yeah. At this point, I have no interest.
And again, I just see this playing out in along the next movie or two. So you know, you can't throw it all in at the first one. That's their plan.
Yeah,
you know, so yeah, we're definitely going to see those things coming back.
Are you happy with the? Are you happy with the X-Men announcements? Are you happy with the casting? I'm happy because
yeah.
I think the hottest young actress in Hollywood. I actually think Indy Navarrette's casting as Rogue. I think bodes very well for her Oscar time. I know this sounds weird to be talking about it. We're in August, but I think there's such a love for Obsession and that movie and that performance in particular, which I told you when when we were talking about it, I said it's one of the greatest female horror performances ever put on film. The idea that she might that she is well liked in Hollywood, that she is, that it's taken this and now she's going to be in the X-Men movie is kind of a big deal. Are you happy with the casting for Adam Driver?
Yes, actually.
I think it's perfect. I think they need a gravitas villain.
Yeah, Mr. Sinister was a character that the old Fox films were slowly hinting at. There was like some Essex Corporation mentions here and there, and I think they were talking.
The briefcase, the stupid briefcase MacGuffin.
There was another mid-credit scene that was shot for one of the movies got dropped. The name of the asylum in New Mutants was linked to the Essex, and so they were kind of moving towards that. Never got to it. And in the unmade Gambit film, Essex is Nathaniel Essex is one of the guys who's like manipulating all the stuff behind the scenes. At least in the script that I read. But
Dan, I'm gonna. Dan's making comments. We're gonna comment a little bit.
Okay.
Females getting hurt on screen. Amazing Spider-Man 2, No Way Home, Aunt May, MJ from it. It works if done right, yes, but I think I don't know that we have the stomach for it right now. Like I'm gonna be honest. I think the Amazing Spider-Man 2 one was too bad, right? That actually crept into other movies. Aunt May dying has to happen because it's a Spider-Man event, and I don't necessarily. It's like Peter hurting her.
Figure.
Right, and I don't think it's Peter actually hurting her. And I don't know that. I think when Spider-Man 1 through 3 came out, Kristen Dunst was, I don't know. I just don't. I understand what you're saying though. What about Gambit's new code name? What is Gambit's new code name? Cyclops.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
New, I thought Cyclops was the new code name. I thought there was a Cyclops new code name.
Yeah, I was only halfway
through. I didn't know
Gambit
got one
on Driver. And
finish. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So Fox was trying to get there. They never could. I like that we're going here instead of starting out with Magneto. And I'm like, oh, we can make X-Men movies where Magneto doesn't have to show up and be a pain in the butt. Granted, we don't know all the casting yet. Maybe they do have Magneto.
I mean, he's definitely going to show up and be a pain in the butt.
But I would like to see a.
I'd like to see other X-Men villains.
Yeah, let's see some other X-Men villains and not have it
something different.
Always tie back to him. You can do, and I think you can. There are things you could do with Mr. Sinister. I think that equally thematically interesting. Because he wants to improve the human race, so he's basically a eugenicist, and so therefore,
Well, and that leads. I mean, that's one of the darker characters and darker versions of the X-Men. Right? So I think it works well, and I think he's a good villain. He's definitely got his finger on the proverbial pulse of like. I feel like you can tie him to our world right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think out of like all the Marvel characters that we have here in the films, the X-Men lend themselves to that social commentary the most.
Yeah,
just based on their own, storied history and stuff.
What they kind of, who they represent. Okay, let's. D3, I think D23 a resounding success, though. You would agree?
Yes. Oh yeah. A lot of fun announcements. A lot of stuff. We were like, well, why aren't they talking about that when Marvel and was doing their stuff at Comic-Con? It's because they were probably finalizing contracts to get some of the X-Men cast on stage.
To get Indy Navarrete. Joe writes, I didn't know this. Gambit's new code name is Wyvern. He adopted this name in Uncanny X-Men 32 after a cursed dragon artifact he stole from Saturang turned him into a monstrous draconic creature. Okay, good to know. Good to know Joe's a bigger nerd than we are right now. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean that feels like that's probably going to be like everything in comics, a temporary thing, and then at some point he'll go back to being a dude with forced percussion eyes or whatever that it's called, and it's not lasers, I know, and we'll be back to calling him Cyclops. I don't think we'll see that play out in the movies though. You okay there, buddy? You're cutting in and out. Oh, man. I can't tap dance tonight, so because I hurt an ankle. So, I'll have to come up with some other thing to kind of entertain everybody while JW fixes a quick connection problem on his end.
God damn it. God damn it. Okay, I can't wait for this fucking internet thing to be over. Okay, the reason everybody's here, let's well, actually, two things. We do need to do a rest in peace, a tragic, really young rest in peace tonight. Rest in peace to Hayden. Mm-hmm. Hello, Joe.
Oh, sorry, I was on standby. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Joe, for popping in. I appreciate you, Joe, for being ready to help us with this.
Vigilant. Hayden Panettiere passed away. I got you. Hayden Panettiere passed away. She's 36 years old. She's a baby. But she has had a pretty storied career, especially in pop culture, horror and sci-fi genres. And I was shocked with the announcement yesterday. I was trying to go through, what made her special, right? And there are a couple of roles that I was gravitating. She played a key role in Heroes. The show had a very big run on NBC, right, in the 2000s. She was the cheerleader. Save the cheerleader, save the world, right?
And if she wasn't, and if she didn't play that role precisely the way she did, we wouldn't have cared about the cheerleader, and the whole hook would have fallen apart. I think no one would have cared about saving the world.
She was fantastic.
The cheerleader character, yeah, she was amazing.
How about this? I think everybody forgets about this. This was her, right? She was in Remember the Titans, and if you pay attention to Remember the Titans, she steals every scene she's in. She was 8 when that movie came out. But she was in a lot, like she was in The Object of My Affection. She was in A Bug's Life, Message in a Bottle, Dinosaur, Remember the Titans, Affair of the Necklace, Joe Somebody, Raising Helen, The Dust Factory, Racing Stripes, Ice Princess, Bring It On, All or Nothing, right? I Love You, Beth Cooper. And then, like, she kind of started finding her footing, like, both she was part of a movie called The Cove, which I know you wanted to talk about.
Let's get through her filmography, but I want to talk about her.
Okay. And then, so she did The Cove, a documentary she played herself. She then appeared in Scream 4, which is one of the reasons she is a main catalyst for fans, right? She played Kirby, who's one of the great characters of Scream, who returned in Scream 6, and everybody was super happy that she survived and was kind of getting her career back on track as these things were happening. She wrote a book. She did some amazing stuff where, she came back as Scream 6. And she wrote a book about her troubles and tribulations with drug addiction, with alcohol addiction, with finding herself and postpartum depression. She had some really shitty things happen to her in Hollywood, and then really shitty things happen to her after she had a baby in Hollywood, which I'm amazed at.
She struggled with postpartum depression and was public about it, which is always, I think, a good thing when people talk about mental health issues, because that's still, for whatever reason, is still very much shunned in this country. And, you know, so if she went out and like inspired other people to be aware of their own kind of possible depression, that's great. Unfortunately, the second she spoke out about it on some talk show for the first time, the cosmetics company that she was working for 10 years immediately canceled her contract with them.
Yeah,
Because
just
fuck those guys.
Well, and like I said, she died at 36. Her brother died tragically from an aorta valve issue, right? So she had some, she was married to a boxer, like a person that was almost 4 times her size. She had the baby, did all these things, and she was a good, like, she ended up having some shitty things done to her or happened to her, but she wrote about them in the book and got them all out there, and then was kind of forging a comeback, right? Like, she came back for the Scream movies. When she came back for the Scream movies, it was a very big push for the Scream movies she appeared in, right? It was Scream. That came out in 2022. So, like, and then she started making, other things where she was executive producing or working on different things. She also had a very storied television career, like so many things you can't even list. She was on Guiding Light when she was a kid, and then she, did Heroes for 4 years as Claire Bennett. And then she came back for Heroes Reborn 1 year, right? She also starred in Nashville, which had 112 episodes and ran for 6 years. Which was one of those big shows that I didn't particularly watch, but I know my wife and her friends did. You know what I mean? So it's like she had a really interesting career, and she was like a really interesting person. And from all accounts, and honest about her shortcomings, honest about her, her issues and problems, honest about the shit that came at her when she was like 17 or 18.
And she just didn't use that kind of platform that she had to to talk about abuse in the industry and things that happened to her in her life, i.e. the postpartum depression that we talked about before. She was also very much interested in environmental issues. That's how she wound up in this documentary called The Cove, which is about the annual dolphin hunt in Taiji, Wakayama, Japan, where Japanese fishermen go out and they just, kill dolphins and harvest them. And she was part of a group of like 6 or 7 people who confronted the fisherman fleet as it was going out, trying to get them to turn back. Unfortunately, they didn't. I think she wound up being banned from going back to Japan for several years or something like that. But part of that confrontation appeared in this documentary called The Cove, which is all about this this horrific kind of hunting. And so she was very much there to speak up against that. She was against whale hunting, even though she was in a lot of things that I probably wasn't really watching, like you, I wasn't watching Nashville. But I admired that she took those stances, especially in 2008 and 9, when that could really be detrimental to one's career. In fact, it probably still could be. Yeah,
she charted. Just so we're clear, she charted on Nashville. She Don't Put Dirt on My Grave. It sold over 400,000 copies. Like, she did very well on Nashville. Like, and again, I think it's a really sad. Like, I just feel like it's gone too soon before she got a chance to fully kind of like come back and do so much more now that she had kind of gotten her shit together. Right. Yeah. And hopefully we find out, I'm not going to, I hope it's not something tragic, but if it is tragic, like, the question becomes, did Hollywood fail her? Like, with all these times when she was being honest and open, and she kind of checked into rehab and did all these things honestly. If you check into rehab, and you should probably get a second chance. maybe. I don't know.
And that's a discussion to have. I mean, okay, little clinical time here. They had the autopsy today, according to Hollywood Reporter. They had, immediately they were having the autopsy this morning, but we're not going to get those results back for several weeks. And I see so many people speculating on social media, and
Fell off the wagon. Must have fallen off the wagon.
Must have fallen off the wagon. We need to know now. Obviously, if the family is asking for privacy, it's something terrible, and so they need to tell us, this kind of like entitled bullshit. And I was just like absolutely grossed out by the sociopathy of some of these people, like demanding they know like what happened. I'm like, she's not even, the body's not even to the morgue yet. What are you people fucking talking about? You're disgusting. And I really was like, ugh. I mean, waking up to some of this shit this morning was just, what?
It's like they failed her. They failed her in life, and they failed
to know. Frankly, you don't need to know, unless the family decides she had issues. She struggled till the end, and but we want her fans to know this is what happened, so they know that it's okay to reach out for help when she couldn't, or something like that. I would be perfectly fine if the family said that.
Yeah, I think
to say something about, well, we need to know. I'm like, no, you fucking don't. Have some
and
respect.
I also think
to this family who had to bury a father and mother who had to bury both children they had, and now have an 11-year-old granddaughter that they have to raise. And
well, then they're raising because Klitschko is in. Her husband Vladimir Klitschko is in Ukraine fighting. So it's a weird situation. I hope we find. I hope everybody gets.
He felt strongly about his home
country
beliefs as well.
Yeah, well, but here's the thing, Rich. Today's stuff with all the stuff about Hayden Panettiere's death was in many ways a failure that is the same failure that she's dealt with her entire career. You know what I mean? Like, and I hope she rests in peace.
This could be just a random health issue, similar to what happened with
her brother died of an aortic failure. That was like a family thing.
It's just
we don't know
heart disease and heart issues. So again, I don't want to kind of push any more on
feed into it. We don't want to feed into it.
Horrible that
I just want to celebrate her. She was a great actress. She was good.
Incalculable. Yeah. To what she had.
She was very good.
And still to give to the world in terms of performances is still only a distant second to again that poor 11-year-old kid.
A family member losing a family member.
Yeah.
But rest in peace. We wish you the best. Thank you for all of your incredible work. She was very, very good in a lot of things. Let's get to something else that's very, very good. We've waited long enough. And I think the most interesting thing about rewatching this movie, we're going to talk about this movie right here tonight. This movie called The Fly. Be afraid, be very afraid. It's not only on the poster, it's my tag for tonight. This movie, The Fly, 1986, David Cronenberg, Jeff Goldblum, Geena Davis, produced by the amazing Mel Brooks, who was so kind, he took his name off of it because he didn't want people thinking it was a comedy. And
although there are a few very droll comments along the way from Jeff Goldblum's character.
It's got humor in it. It's like anything else. It's like all the great horror films, or there's humor in them. But like I was rewatching it last night, I'm enamored with the movie. I think it's in the discussion for top 5 remakes of all time, right? And it's in the discussion for top 5 remakes of all time.
Yeah, let's start there though.
Original production
from 1958. was based on a short story that was published in Playboy in 1957. So yes, apparently somebody read Playboy for the articles, and
and somebody wrote for Playboy for the articles.
Yeah, I know. But to be fair, for a good majority of its run, in addition to the lovely pictorials that they, graced its pages, Playboy had some really great interviews, was a great place for short fiction writers to get their stuff out, and it also had some good commentary on socio and political issues. So. But anyways,
well, I think the most interesting. It's a great. The original is great. The original is not good. It's just that this one is so much. It's like it's a finely crafted, efficient movie. Development of this movie starts when they decide in the 80s that they're going to remake it. Kip Oman finds this guy named Charles Edward Pogue. Let's make The Fly. Pogue says, I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to remake the movie. I want to read the original story. So he starts developing a script from there. They talk with producer Stuart Kornfeld. He sets up, he agrees to it immediately. They go to 20th Century Fox. They pitch it. And then Pogue is given money for the first draft of the screenplay, which is great. He works on different things. Kornfeld decides that, hey, it shouldn't be instantaneous. It should be gradual. Executives read the script. They don't like what they're reading, so they immediately pull back. But Kornfeld, as he's walking out the door, orchestrates a deal whereby Fox would distribute if they could find financing. The financing, Rich, comes in the form of Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks apparently had loved the movie when he was a child or when he was younger. He thought it was one of the great horror films. So they started approaching different directors. And at this point, before Cronenberg is signing on to this, Cronenberg, I was reading about, Rich, was actually working on a version of Total Recall, which is
with Dino De Laurentiis. Originally he was offered The Fly. He said, I can't. I'm doing Total Recall with Dino over here. He and Dino did not get along. And so he walked away from that. And
eventually,
And it just makes me wonder, though, what would the Total Recall, what would the Cronenberg Total Recall
be? David Cronenberg that's another thing I was thinking about last night. A David Cronenberg Total Recall would be mind bending. But so
would eventually a fucking nightmare is what he would be.
It would be bad.
Yes.
But eventually what happens is they look at this script. Cronenberg likes the Pogue script. He tells Mel Brooks, I want to do it. And he agrees to sign on as director only if he can rewrite the script. And of course, Mel Brooks says, yeah, we wanted you. Yeah, let's. And then Mel Brooks ends up paying him double what he was paid for The Dead Zone, which was a very popular Christopher Walken Cronenberg movie based on a Stephen King book. There's only one line of dialogue from the original Pogue version of the script, Charles Pogue version of the script, in the film. Cronenberg did, however, share screenplay credit with him. And his take on it, it was an interesting take. Usually screenwriters are crazy about things, but during a Writers Guild arbitration with Pogue, he basically said, my version of the script, even though it only has one line of dialogue in it, doesn't exist without you. And so he said your version of the script was a foundation. So he shared credit with him. He didn't have to.
I have not read that draft. I would love to. Couldn't find it when I went looking for it, though. Although, honestly, The Fly is just not really SEO friendly for a search title. But I would hazard the guess that before Cronenberg rewrote it, he had the basic foundation of, well, as you said, he was the one who suggested the slow transformation. Probably was like, there's going to be, this character becomes the love interest, and there's a third point to this story triangle of characters, because this movie's basically just 3 characters, and that's it.
It's you know what
with the
I
exception
was
of some glorified extras, but you know.
Well, that was one of the things during production. We'll get to it when we're doing the review. I was utterly amazed with the efficiency with which the movie moves. Production casting choices. Brooks originally wanted Pierce Brosnan, but he said no. John Malkovich was also up for it. He declined. Lithgow was up for it. John Lithgow was up for it, but he said it was too grotesque, even for him. Michael Keaton also was considered. Richard Dreyfuss was considered. But Cronenberg landed on Jeff
ultimately
Goldblum
we had
because
3 Buckaroo Banzai connected people. Goldblum.
Yeah,
Lithgow,
well, and also like I'm
Michael
amazed
Keaton
that
had been offered the role of Buckaroo Banzai before it went to Peter Weller.
Yeah, so yeah, you get your Buckaroo Banzai.
You didn't know that, did you?
I did not. But Jeff Goldblum actually was picked by Cronenberg because he was the only one of the actors that auditioned that agreed to the prosthetics. People like Richard Dreyfuss and Michael Keaton were they were like, we want to turn into the Fly, but we want to make sure people still recognize us. And I guess it was more Dreyfuss than it was Keaton, but all of the actors were concerned about the sheer volume of prosthetics involved. There was also some big kind of casting thing. Geena Davis and Jeff Goldblum at the time, the reason the chemistry is so good in the movie is because they were actually dating in real life. And Kornfeld and he opposed the casting of Geena Davis just on that basis. But Cronenberg, after she read, even though he was forced to get other actresses, he never got past Geena Davis. And they became so close on set and such good friends that the reason the gynecologist role is played by Cronenberg is that she wouldn't allow anybody else between her legs. Which is one of the stories you get out of a production where you're like, that's amazing, right? So he plays the gynecologist in the very famous maggot baby scene. And so it's just an incredible kind of a story, but she would only trust him, and they hit it off and they became fast friends. Budget was anywhere from 9 to 15 million. Chris Wallace, who had worked with Cronenberg on Scanners, here's a Scanners reference for all you fans out there. He was hired to create the film special effects, which would end up being very fortuitous for Chris Wallace. He will get an Oscar out of it.
Actually, a story I came across while doing my research was they were at like one of the test screenings or something like that, and an unnamed executive leaned over to Wallace at the end of the movie, and his name is the first name that comes up, by the way, in the credits. And that's
created by The Fly, created by Chris Wallace.
They wanted to make sure he got, noticed for his work, because that's how impressed everybody was. And then this executive, as that credit comes up, just basically leans over and goes, "Congratulations, you just won an Oscar." So they knew right there that.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's one of the things about the production, like for as fast and as efficiently and economically as this movie is made. The sheer very quick shooting schedule. It's something. It's like 3 months in December in Toronto, 1985. Couple interesting, fun makeup effects, stories about production design. The telepods were inspired by Cronenberg's Ducati Desmo motorcycle. So the way the cylinder of the motorcycle looked. And one of the cool makeup effects and production design things you hear is they basically they broke the transformation into 7 distinct stages. They basically did it in reverse, right? Where they were doing just everything. They did everything in reverse so that it would be easier on Goldblum to shoot. So they did all the hard stuff early, where he was in the chair for long periods of time. And then, if you go through it, the makeup effects are not just the incredible creature at the end, right? Stages 1 and 2 of the effect is like a rash, and if you're really paying attention, Goldblum starts looking wonky the moment he starts flipping around the pad. He starts flipping around the house. He looks like his face looks like he's got acne and all kinds of stuff going on. And then he did piecemeal prosthetics, Goldblum, and all of the actors involved who were auditioning were totally afraid of the makeup, that they would lose their performance. One of the things that you can go by for Jeff Goldblum in this movie is that he is profoundly effective under all that makeup. Like it's an astounding performance under all that makeup. Box office. Let's get to it. The Fly opens in, let's see, it earned $40.4 million domestically, $20 million internationally for $60 million worldwide total box office. And if you look at it, like, it would be like a modestly budgeted big, like a decent hit right now. I think it was like the adjusted was, give me 1 second, I'm bringing it up. Adjusted is 120 for inflation, and that is, a movie with this much violence in it, this much gore. It 114, I should say.
I didn't think it was that gory, to be quite honest.
I think you can get away with that until the acid drops. I think you can get away till the acid drops, Rich. I think you can say it's not super gory up until the point where he destroys Stathis Borans. But that's just me. It opened on 1,196 screens. It eventually got out to 1,200 screens. Played an average of 8.3 weeks and only had an opening weekend, even though it grossed $37 million. An opening weekend of $7 million. So that means it kind of chugged. It was always kind of like just right there. And again, $60 million for a movie in the 80s that is widely regarded as one of the gorier movies you'll ever see is pretty impressive. Critical response then and now. So the question I have, and the question everybody's going to have, does The Fly hold up? I rewatched it last night. The answer is a resounding yes. I still think it's one of the best remakes ever made. I think the chemistry between Goldblum and Geena Davis solidify the movie. They make the movie special. And then when you add on, like, the first, hour of the movie isn't even a body horror movie. Like it's just a guy who's going up against himself and trying to change the world. And she's the girl that kind of like comes in and she's so spunky and so into her career and trying to do what she's going to do, but she immediately falls for him. And they're really cute. It's like a meet cute movie up until the point bits start falling off of Jeff Goldblum. And then The Fly becomes the ultimate in body horror. And with Goldblum and his little like medicine cabinet of pieces of Brundlefly, right? But the performance by Goldblum is so amazing. And I know people lavish a lot of praise on him for Jurassic Park and make, Ian Malcolm is a great character. I think this is his best movie and his best performance. He is a lot going on. Yeah. Also, like, physically and mentally when he starts going through the change, there is so much actor work. I would assume Meisner work because Goldblum is a Meisner person. There's so much character work that it's just, he is so hard. His eyes are he moves differently.
You're really breaking up there for a moment, but I think I caught what you were saying because I have some notes similar that, yeah, he does a lot of great movement work here. He twitches his head. He spent some time looking at houseflies to kind of draw in what he wanted to do, and it's really great. And his work in Jurassic Park is fun, but I don't think, and it's kind of iconic in its own way, but I don't think it's really.
He's got a lot going on.
Kind of stays steady through all of his appearances.
He doesn't have much of an arc. There's a huge arc here.
Though.
Like the arc is incredible. Like I was looking at like the pictures and the different, like I tried to go through and pick out like the pictures where like you get really, the first time he goes by and takes her for a cheeseburger, he's so engaging, and he's this young hotshot scientist, and he's basically negotiating with her. And then, he shows her the pods and everything is so like it's basement. It looks like a serial killer hangout, to be honest. And then this picture here, Goldblum, after the first experiment with the first baboon who goes through and it doesn't work out, he is so rageful at this moment. She's like, "What are you thinking?" He's like, "I'm thinking the word fuck." Right? And like, that's what's amazing about the movie is it has great performances. And also there's an economy of motion in the screenplay that is so straightforward about what it's trying to do, about showing somebody breaking down from disease, right? The idea, if you've ever had a family member and you go to see the family member one time and then you go see them a different time and the disease has just ravaged them to the point where you can't recognize the person.
Look, dude, my mom had Parkinson's, my dad has dementia. And yeah, I could definitely draw a parallel from this movie to, both of their health declines. But what I like about this movie, though, is he struggles to maintain his humanity for a good part of it. He doesn't kill anybody in this movie. Even at the end, Mr. Editor, whose name I'm...
Stathis Borans.
Yeah.
Stathis.
William Atherton was not available, so they hired this guy. So that's funny. I deserve a better laugh from you than that.
It is good. It's better. It's better if you say John Getz and then move on and just call him Stathis Borans. But William Atherton wasn't available.
Yes.
Also, not sexy enough. Stathis is kind of manlier than William Atherton.
And this was a decision that he doesn't kill anybody. As Joe says in there. Yes, the wrestling scene and the arm wrestling scene in the bar, where he jacks up that guy's forearm. Oof, yeah. But that's a decision for the story that came actually in the editing process, because there were two scenes that they cut. One was where he had another failed experiment, and he was like trying to teleport both a cat and a baboon at the same time, and they got all
the
jumbled
cat
up.
Baboon. But the funny thing about that is the reason they had to cut it was because it doesn't make sense. Kaboom.
Well, but he winds up, but it's still alive, and he winds up beating it to death, mercy killing maybe. But that, and there was also a scene where he attacks a homeless old woman out in an alley somewhere towards the end.
I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm glad it all stays personal.
Yeah, and I think that's great, because it does make that more about his struggle to maintain his humanity rather than just turning him into a ooky gooky spooky killing monster machine thing.
Well, no, and like I said, I think some of his best work in the movie comes near the end, where he's like, there are at least 3 scenes where he has scenes with Geena Davis that are absolutely chilling, but also like kind of sad, and he's like, where he realizes he's losing track, and he at one point tells her you can't come around anymore, but he also like goes to eat a donut, and he just like he brings the donut up and he's like, really quick, and he's like, oh, that's disgusting. And he's just, it's a really good performance. It's a really good performance. And again, the makeup it helps him, but it doesn't help him to the point where he is, he's walking with canes. He has like, it's a really great performance. And Geena Davis is everyone is equal. She is very good in this movie. It is one of those Geena Davis performances where you're amazed that she's so young. You're amazed that she's incredible. Like I said, I think
on the idea of it, this being a movie about a disease, he even refers to it as such. Do you think possibly part of the reason it resonated with people is because we're in the mid 80s and the AIDS crisis has suddenly exploded, and people were afraid of anybody who had AIDS because we didn't know anything about it yet. We didn't know how
we didn't know if it was contagious.
Exactly.
I think there are things in the movie. A couple things. I think the AIDS thing comes up, right, because AIDS was ravaging through the homosexual community and people in the late 80s when the movie came out. I think, Cronenberg has responded to this. This is an interesting kind of response. And he's like, while I didn't make the movie specifically on AIDS, it is something where I understand that people who lost people in their lives see a great deal of it in the movie. Right. And he's like, it's more of a general thing, but I think the movie hits harder when you realize the time frame it came out. I think, people with lesions and people with, how people were treated and the idea that, the Stathis Borens, played by Jim Getz, has the great sequence in the middle of the movie where she comes to him and says, I'm worried about him. And he's like, you don't know if it's contagious. You got to stop. You got to stop going. And she's like, I can't.
I mean, the film is just kind of general, just enough that you can lay in something like the AIDS crisis.
Yeah, it's well. I think it's like anything. Like you watch it and you bring the stuff that the horrible circumstances for your parents. You know what I mean? I watch it and maybe bring one or two friends that passed away from the AIDS epidemic that I knew. And so it's like it's so good that it can do that, and that's the key to it. It's this also, like, at the time, right, when you watch this movie, the visual, by the way, the visual effects and the makeup and the set design and everything is so fucking good on the cheap, Rich. This movie cost $9 million to make.
Yeah.
It looks so good. The effects look so good. The makeup looks so good. The set design is interesting. It's one warehouse that he's rented out. You
could do this as a three-hander play almost.
You could. And like I said, it's focused. It's a very, one of the things I was taken away from last night is it's an hour and 35 minutes, Rich. And there's not a moment of time wasted.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're watching movies that are an hour and a half, they waste, moments here or there. There's not an ounce of wasted moment. Everything, it's moving fast. And I'm amazed at that. And also, I would encourage, we've gotten a little heavy-handed here in the 2026s, in the 2020s, where every movie needs to be 2 hours and 45 minutes. And it's like, every once in a while, I would like somebody to have economy of motion. The economy of motion available to David Cronenberg in 1986 for The Fly. And I'm amazed at how much it gets done with how short it is.
Yeah, one other thing that I thought about too while we were watching it this afternoon. This movie is 1986, so we're about 14 years after Roe v. Wade. And people are still kind of tap dancing around the idea of, we got to find somebody to abort this thing that's inside me. And they kind of, I know a guy. It's not like a case where they can go,
middle of the night.
Yeah,
it's a weird fucking scene.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I get the idea of wanting to have it at night because you get almost a Phantom of the Opera, like crash in, grab the girl, jump back out the window, and disappear almost immediately, kind of thing.
It's fantastic. But it's an absolutely fantastic. The moment,
it's a great moment, but yeah, it's still like, I'm still kind of like, wow, man, they couldn't just say, oh yeah, Planned Parenthood is open until 9, get in the car, or anything like that. I was kind of surprised by it.
And the other creepy thing about it is two things. Stathis, for being the third choice, right, for being the second choice of Ronnie, right, Stathis Borns is a creep. He is a terrible person. You know what I mean? Like, he is not good. Creep.
But
he's absolutely terrible.
And it stands up.
Yeah, well, he's terrible. And I think the interesting thing here is he gets what he deserves at the end. Like he's a bad person. Yeah, I think he does.
I mean, yeah, he's like, hey, can we still sleep together even though we're not together? Just for stress relief or whatever he says. And then, but once things start to go bad, he
does take care
of it. Reason he does care. He's like, hey, you don't know if that's contagious, and he's fucking right to ask that.
Well, but here's the other problem for him as a character. Stavros Bordens as a character, he does have an abortionist on call.
He knows a guy.
He knows a guy.
Yeah, that does raise some questions about how many times he's been to this guy's office in the middle of the night.
But again, as a 3-person movie, though, it is a solid. Everybody is solid. Even the people in the bar, the bystanders, even the girl he takes home, all solid, all amazing. And like I said, the acting is so solid. Let's look at what people thought then. 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. We use it as an aggregate, not necessarily as a way to look at things. Also 83% from the popcorn meter. But like I was reading the reviews, there are people that were utterly repulsed by it. And then there are people that are utterly like, I get it. I'm vibing on what he's doing. Right. So my favorite, there are a couple really good ones. Joe Kane, says for the Daily News, New York Daily News, suffice to say Cronenberg succeeds in fashioning a fly that's by turns funny, poignant, repulsive, and intense. It gets a bad review. I was reading through them. It gets a bad review from our where's my good friend? Where's she at? I gotta find her. She's in the list. Pauline Kael gave it a bad review and said it's an hour and a half of just gore. And I'm like, but that's not true, right?
No, I don't think she really engaged with the movie on a meaningful level. I think she went in expecting it to be, a gory horror film remake that was taking advantage of looser.
I think she's mad that it's taking advantage of the name. David Denby, New York Magazine said, Cronenberg directs with great restraint. The arc of the movie from horror to satire to romantic tragedy is clean, uncluttered, and powerful. That's what I was amazed with the most. And rewatching it, Rich, the efficiency. The Fly, 1986, works with efficient. It is like a cold piece of gunmetal that just kind of, it's there and it's smooth and it goes fast and it doesn't slow down at all. And it's a testament to Cronenberg as a director, but it's also a testament to how clean the screenplay is. And like it paints a picture, the early picture of Seth Brundle, the misguided, like the scientist who may be a genius, the love affair, it happens kind of quick, but it's, they're obviously in close proximity to each other. So it's, they're going to have that. And then my favorite moment, like again, my 2 favorite moments are Brundlefly moments where he spits on he does the vomit gag on the donut. Ooh, that's gross. Like just has the reaction like, ooh, I'm sorry. That was me. That was my body doing that. And then my other favorite, like when he's telling her, when he's like, he's talking to her about, she's decided to have the abortion, and he's like, but the baby, it's the last remnant real version of me left. And then, of course, he gets the bad idea that he can fuse all 3 of them together. But up until that moment, Rich, it's a great moment. It's like, what about the baby?
That's a weird choice for the story to go.
Well, it's the only choice he has. He honestly, needs, like, if you read the computer says you need 2 or more people, the mass of 2 or more people to get rid of the fly elements in your Brundlefly. So I know he picks her and the baby. It's not necessarily the best choice because it's only half a person. You know what I mean? Like, I
know that the computer says that, but that's the screenwriter coming up with trying to figure out a way out. And the only way to build tension is let's all jump into the thing and see what happens. And I was like, I mean, yeah, it has to be some kind of.
Like I said, the gore.
It just felt like a weird choice this time around when I watched it.
It's a weird choice in the sense that, but again, it kind of I don't know, it kind of jives because he tells her early, like, don't come around anymore because I'm not sure the insect universe is brutal, and I don't know that I can control myself. And then when he's presented with the opportunity of like, do I throw her into the thing and maybe make myself whole again, and it'll be the three of us. I don't know what's going to come out of the third pod. Like, the third pod is ominous because it doesn't even have, I was looking at it, Rich. It doesn't even have the third
window.
pod doesn't even have a glass window so you can see inside of it. Like, that's how terrifying the pod is. But like I said, the Cronenberg screenplay is great. The direction is great. The actors clearly trust Cronenberg. The Fly is one of those movies from the 80s that you can try to replicate. You can try to tell people about it and explain it. And all they've heard is the only things people have heard about it, right? And I would encourage, is why I really encourage a watch. The only thing you've heard about it is the really gory maggot baby scene. And then you've also heard about any of the numerous times that Jeff Goldblum vomits on screen, including 2 times on a person that it doesn't go well for the person. Again, though, that Statler's Board ends up being like quite the hero because he saves the baby, saves Veronica. Even though he only has a nub of a hand left and no ankle, absolutely no ankle, gone, just gone. I think that's where it becomes where people can't get over the gore. Like, and also there is something weird about, like, in quiet moments as Jeff Goldblum falls apart during the movie. Like, the one point he's talking to her and his ear fucking falls off and she's like, "Ooh." Like, and it's in those moments, these quiet moments where it's like, oh, that's another piece of me. And he's so good. It's such a great performance, young in his career. And I don't think, again, I think everybody has Jurassic Park on the brain. I don't think you think about Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. It's his best work. It's a fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a great performance. Geena Davis is really good too. Everybody is really good. And you can tell that they trust Cronenberg, and Cronenberg just is gangbusters with the material. It's everything Cronenberg wants to make in a movie, and Cronenberg has made a bunch of really good movies, really great Dead Ringers, Scanners. You know what I mean? The Brood, Rabid. Like, he's a fantastic director, right? And he's also a really good actor. He's been in a lot of cool horror movies. I'm looking at you, Nightbreed. He's fantastic in Nightbreed. Legacy and franchise of this movie. Legacy and franchise of Fly 1986. Here's the thing, Rich. I think this is really hard.
No, this is The Fly. The Thing was another film.
There you go. Another remake. Here is the concept that I want to get across about the. I think you could try to I think you could do a sequel. I think you could make an update. The original sequel, The Fly 2, came out a few years later. Not well received, but not a bad movie, but not well received.
No, it's not. And they had a number of attempts at making a sequel before.
There's so many, Rich.
Yeah, there was
Rich,
like one.
There's so many.
Goldberg's consciousness kind of trapped in the computer and was being used by the military. That never went too far.
No, it was the company. It was the Bartok company that gave him the money for the experiments, and he was trapped in the computer, and Veronica realized that it was actually his consciousness trapped in the computer, and that it was the pods were being used for cloning purposes. Cloning. This was right around.
Flies was another one.
Yeah, that one's really interesting. That was Rennie Harlan.
Yeah,
and that was Geena Davis's husband at the time. He made The Long Kiss Goodnight with her. He also made Cutthroat Island with her, and they were trying to do The Flies there. And here's the thing: Brooks has never said no. He's like, find a movie, find a way to do it, and we'll make a sequel. That's the Fly Part 2, by the way. The final script it's got elements
Cronenberg
from
was asked, and he was like, "Can I do something different?" And Brooks was kind of like, "No, we got to do the same thing to get more money," and or whatever his response was. And Cronenberg wasn't interested in doing the same thing again. And I can't.
Yeah, he really didn't. The only actor that's actually in the movie is John Getz, who plays Stathis Borans, because Geena Davis dies at the beginning of the movie in childbirth.
Well, no, that's not even her. She was like, "I'm not coming back."
Right. It was Saffron Henderson playing her. So they've tried to make sequels. That sequel, by the way, just so we're clear, that there's an early treatment written by Tim Lucas. There's an early treatment written by Frank Darabont, and Mick Garris also wrote a treatment of the second movie, which is not a bad movie, but you can't find it now. You have to get it on actual physical media. And it's just one of those movies that fell through the cracks in one of the I think it's summer of '88 is when it came out, but it's not bad. It's got Eric Stoltz. It's really not a bad movie. They also tried a comic book thing. IDW Publishing in March 2015 did The Fly Outbreak, which was a comic book miniseries. It's a direct sequel to the events of Fly 2, where Martin, the son, causes a transgenic outbreak while attempting to cure the leader of the company. And basically, the guy at the end of the movie gets all the mutant genes. If you remember the end of The Fly 2, the Rennie Harlin version, Todd Lincoln tried a second remake with Fox Searchlight in 2003. Mm-hmm. That didn't happen. Cronenberg said, "I'll come back."
Here's the thing, though. I would love to see, because the computer controlling the teleportation is such an important part of this version. How do you kind of funnel that idea through with using AI? Yeah. And I'm thinking, does AI hallucinate a solution that causes this, or does is the AI not sufficiently trained, to differentiate between person and teeny tiny bug?
I think they're also like one of the reboots that's been going around is Nyatu Jusu's reboot. That was 2024, right? Mm-hmm. That was basically set in the same universe as the Cronenberg's The Fly, so Seth Brundle wouldn't be any character. Like, the problem they have is that the main character, they killed the main character in the second movie. Now, you could do a whole reboot where you go back, but the legacy also has to include, for The Fly 1986, has to include Chris Wallace. Chris Wallace takes this, wins an Oscar, and basically writes his ticket in Hollywood, right? Mm-hmm. Chris Wallace, he gets all kinds of, like, he ends up making movies, doing the effects. Listen to the movies like after The Fly, like you got Arachnophobia, you got Naked Lunch, you got special effects. He does makeup artist for Tales from the Crypt. He does Virtuosity. He does Jade. He directs Tales from the Crypt. He directs The Fly 2. He directs The Vagrant. Like, he really runs with this, and the effects are like, I was watching it, Rich. The makeup is so goddamn good. It's so great. Like, it's practical effects and everything's real, and like even the creature that comes out of the telepod at the end, right? Like the big mutant guy that gets fused with the fucking telepod.
The door.
Even he has such an incredible look to him. You know what I mean? Like, and I fell in love with the movie all over again. Like, just how I hadn't seen it in a while, and I just it's one of those movies where, would I like to see a reboot? I don't know, because I think in order to do the reboot, you would have to have all of the elements kind of back to get the same. Like, this feels like one of those 80s alchemy jars 86 Fly feels like one of those alchemy jars that they put together. And in a time when we're talking about making sequels to Big Trouble in Little China, you mentioned of Buckaroo Banzai, like they've always talked about trying to do a sequel to that. There's talk about, like, John Carpenter was at a press thing 3 weeks ago where he dropped the idea that they might be working on a Thing sequel. Like, I shudder at the idea because I would be worried. Mm-hmm. And I would much rather they just, in the 40th anniversary of this film's release, give it a week in IMAX or something. You know what I mean? Like, give it a week so people can see it on the big screen again. You know what I mean? And just kind of be happy with what we had.
Anybody can, tell a good story. That's the problem. Can you tell a good story as, as a spin-off sequel, legacy sequel? My gosh, Color of Money, for instance, which we've talked about on this show, is, an amazing legacy sequel to The Hustler. And can you do something that looks at, I don't know, Brundlefly's grandchild now? Because we're at about there.
Well, I think I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I.
Yeah, I don't know where you go with it.
I don't know how you do the franchise thing, and I feel it's like one of those franchises that from all the stops and starts has just.
Then again, I was gonna say. Then again, though, the original Fly from '58 had 2 sequels, so.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe.
Like I said,
I haven't watched those in 30 years, frankly, and maybe therein are stories or ideas or some themes that you go, oh, we could do something.
And like I said, I think
today.
there is something. There is something in The Fly 2, right? The Fly 2, again, not a bad sequel. Again, not as good as the original, but not a bad sequel. There is a concept in that movie that they're trying to use the pods for cloning. They're also trying to use the pods for genetic mutation of people who have illnesses. Mm-hmm. So I think you could get there with all the gene splicing and things we've sort of lived through, Dolly the sheep and everything. But I feel like it's one of the, like, the Fly 86 is you ever think about yourself when you're watching these 80s movies, some of the movies we love, and they're just lightning in a bottle. They're just like they got everything right. And it was for that one brief shining moment. They made an hour and 35-minute movie about a guy who turns into a fly, and it has 2 great performances in it. And it's got David
you blah 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 blah. You just kind of froze up there.
One of the great. Oh, I'm sorry. Like I said, it goes in. It's an allegory, and it's brilliant, and it's amazing, and I just don't know if you could redo it. So, is the viability there? Sure, I think people would jump at it. And I do. One of the things I do want to is it worth doing, and also one of the things I do want to talk about really briefly. Mel Brooks throughout this entire, the framing of this movie, the way this movie got released, the way it got handled. Mel Brooks behind the scenes pulling a Lucille Ball, right? Like realizing that the people involved are all really great and just kind of like letting it hang, man. And like I said, I think one of the legacy things I want to talk about also is that just watch this movie. Just see how great it is.
Remember, he also kind of like kept his name away from outside of the Brooks Films production logo. From things like Elephant Man. I'm
amazed.
Produced like Francis with Jessica Lange back in '82.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Solar Babies. There's a bunch of things that he probably.
But this movie, of all those movies, Rich,
taken an exec producer credit on, but he didn't.
Sure, but of all those movies, Rich, if his name was attached to this movie, people would have been looking for a comedy.
Well, same with Elephant Man. My God, he
okay.
Also
when you see it like that, yeah. Okay, Legacy Fly 86. Watch it. If they reboot it, I'll be excited but nervous, and I would hope that they would celebrate the '86 Fly. Again, one of the 5 best remakes of all time, movie history-wise. It's in the conversation. I think The Thing is 1, but The Fly is in that conversation.
Yes, very much so.
Let's see. Next week, with the sad news coming out, oh no, with the sad news coming out about Hayden Panettiere, next week we jump into something a little bit happier. Goblin King, the Gnome King, Goblin King.
Yes.
Stealing a kid. Jennifer Connelly.
David Bowie's enormous package.
And the amazing Muppets of Jim Henson's Muppet Factory. We are doing Labyrinth, celebrating its 40th anniversary. That is next week on Generation Movie. Rich, where can people find your work and your stuff?
Oh, before we go, though, do we want to plug what we might be talking about on the Friday review show? Do you know what we're going to be talking about on the Friday review show?
That's a good point. I think I didn't come up with what we're going to be talking about, but I think it's going to be Tony. Tony's going to be one of them. Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking also. I'm thinking of catching Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma.
I do want to see that. If it comes to my theater, I'll go. We'll do that.
I've been hearing good things. So,
I like anything where we're filming movies about horror films. I'm all in on those, especially if you end up making a slasher out of it. I'm all in. I'm hearing good things too. But Tony, definitely on Friday. Where can people find your stuff, Rich, if they're looking for your work?
All of my writing can be found at filmbuffonline.com. We also have a Facebook page. You can go give us a like and subscribe or whatever you do there on Facebook, and you get notifications when we have new bits of news going up. We also have posts on film history, on this date in film history, who was born, what happened, what movies came out, things like that. That will hopefully at least interest you a little bit, if not entertain you. I can be found on the social networks, Threads, Twitter, Blue Sky as @FilmBuffRich.
Okay, a couple things. Joe Ridgely with 2 comments to end the night. The movie star 10-year-old Joe's crush on Geena Davis. 1996, The Long Kiss Goodnight sealed the deal. I think everybody had a crush on Geena Davis.
If you're ever up here in NEPA, Joe, we will take you up to the real Holmesdale from The Long Kiss Goodnight, and you will see it looks nothing like the Holmesdale you see in Long Kiss.
Did I ever tell you the story about during the summer? I was speaking of Geena Davis really quick. Quick story. Geena Davis, when my dad, Geena Davis came to train in the Poconos. The summer that A League of Their Own came out. She was training to become an Olympic archer, which she did become an Olympic archer.
She did, yeah.
But she was training in the Poconos. She came to see A League of Their Own at my dad's theater, and I did get to briefly meet her.
The Endless Mountains?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I never knew that.
She showed up for a matinee. My dad looked at her and said, "You're Geena Davis." My dad was hilarious. My dad was like the greatest thing. He's like, "You're Geena Davis. Do you know that?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm Geena Davis."
My dad was God. Your dad did not charge her.
No, I know. Of course,
right
no.
This way, we'll give
right
you
this way, Miss Davis. And then it was right this way, Miss Davis. And then immediate call to me, like, "Get your ass up here." She'll be out of the 4:00 show. But she was great. She was very nice. But she was training to be an Olympic archer. And so that was cool. And then the other thing was a sequel really necessary with the Back to the Future dropout. Don't talk badly about Eric Stoltz. He was a good actor. He was not right for Marty McFly.
Yes.
It was a good actor. He made some good movies.
That out and made that change 2 weeks in. And
right. And the reason that happened was because Michael J. Fox was dying.
Yeah, if that movie came out and it was crap because Eric Stoltz stayed and then they were just like, we got to keep him. Then we would have lost out on 2 and 3.
We would have lost out on the greatest time travel movie ever made.
Yeah. So
just so we're clear. So don't Let's not rip on Eric Stoltz, by the way. He was in some good movies. Anyway, we are the Indie Escape Network. That's Joe Ridgely talking to us. Again, we're Where Creatives Unite, live streams on Facebook and YouTube. We are available in all of the good, cool kid places: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, all those places. You can also see us with all of our shows. We have all these shows: Generation Movie, Loud and Nerdy, Simplistic Cynicism every once in a while on Wednesday nights with Gabe, Technical Defects of Ryan West, Joe Ridgely. They have the big show coming up on Thursday with Kelly Jones, comic book artist of Batman Nightfall. Please like and subscribe. I mean, it takes 5 seconds for you. It means the world to us, helps us out, helps us get things going on a network that's all based in creativity and friends and making very little money. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see everybody next week for Labyrinth. Go watch The Fly, man. It absolutely kicks ass and still holds up remarkably. The effects still hold up for if you're a gore hound, especially. The last 20 minutes are spectacular. Have a great night. Stay safe. Bye.